Welcome to another episode. I'm bringing in a guest who has an athlete background. We're going to talk about goal setting, mindset, chasing that greatness that all of us have inside of us, and also logistics and building businesses. Without any further ado, Desmond, if you could introduce yourself and the company you represent, we'll take it from there.
My name is Desmond Clark. Most people know me from playing in the NFL for 12 years, out in Denver for 3 years, 1 year down in Miami, and then 8 years with the Chicago Bears. That's how most people know me. But since then, I've transitioned into other iterations of myself. I'll say been a financial advisor, insurance salesman, entrepreneur, owning an insurance company, and then finally settling down in the space of logistics. And in between all of that, also doing public speaking, motivational speaking. But now, hey, it's all about bear down logistics and what I'm doing here and building this business up to be a powerhouse in the logistics space.
What a great name for a logistic company as well. Where did that idea of entrepreneurship develop in you when you knew like you have to diversify, you have to do something? The career will end at one point. You see a lot of sponsorships from pro athletes during their career. They sponsor companies, maybe invest in some. However, not all of them will actually start a business. And definitely, you don't see many athletes start a business in a very unique space like logistics. I'll be curious to hear your background.
So I think you have to debunk the myth that athletes are different than everybody else in society, right? There's only a certain percentage of people in society that go out and start their own businesses. It's probably no different in the athletic community, right? You may have a slightly higher percentage of athletes that go out and start businesses because they have um, the finances to go out and take that risk to do it. And then you say with athletes, you have to make these big sacrifices. Well, it's no different from, the person that's going to be a econ major and has this great thought of having a business for that particular purpose that they study, right? They're focused there. And so they become a professional at that. But while doing that, they had to sacrifice other things also so they can get at the top of their game. So I think it's more of looking at people who are excelling at the top than it being like, okay, an entrepreneur, athlete, or, executives. It's like once you get to that top 1%, top 2%, those people always had to sacrifice something, be focused enough to get to where they wanted to get to, and to the top of whatever profession that may be.
I love that. And why logistics?
While logistics, I kind of accidentally fell into logistics. So I got out of the insurance industry, the financial services industry, late 2019, started writing my second book, Principles of Winning. And my thought process was that I was going to write the book and have that be the springboard for me starting my speaking business, which I did start. But then when I released my book, of course, the world shut down in 2020. The speaking opportunities kind of dried up. And in the midst of kind of looking for, hey, what's next? That was all I had at that point. I had stopped doing everything else. And I was approached with the opportunity to help a friend of mine who became a friend of mine continue to build his business in logistics. And that's how I was introduced to logistics. And in the course of investigating whether I wanted to help him to continue to build his business, that's how I found out about logistics. So over that 2 to 3 month period, I learned enough to know, hey, I think I like this and I think I may want to do this. So I approached him about helping me start my business instead of me helping him build his business. And he graciously said yes. And that was the beginning of it in October of 2021. And then I studied for another 6, 7 months. And I got into operations and started dialing and trying to gain customers at that point in May of 2022.
So October 2021, it was still amidst of the pandemic, and it was from my previous guess, I guess it was a good already because when the pandemic hit, everything shut down and everyone was panicking. But then I hear there was a nice increase because people were buying things online. E-commerce was booming, so that transportation logistics was having good times. Did you experience the same or during that time? Because now I hear a lot of them talked about the last 3 years of recession in the transportation business, logistics as well, being part of it. What's your take on that? Where do you see
So
industry
yeah,
now?
when I got in at the top, right as it was getting ready to collapse. So I've only seen the downside of the industry, but I believe that's a blessing in disguise. I really don't pay attention to much of that. Hey, well, it's in a recession or this, that, because those are things that I can't change and I can't do anything about that, right? I know I could get out here and reach out to people and try to build clients. I know I could go out and recruit and try to bring great agents to bear down logistics. I know I can increase my knowledge about what particular part of the industry we want to attack, like heavy hauling. Those are things that I can control. So those are the things that I focus on. And so I looked up after my first year and people was asking me, hey, how you doing so well when you got in when everybody else is crashing? Well, I don't know. I just stuck to my guns and stuck to the things that I can control, just like now, the same thing. And that's how I managed to, build a company to where it's at. Over these last 3.5 years, we're nowhere near where we want to be, but we're on track to get to where we want to go.
I absolutely love that mindset approach here, or that point of that way of looking at approaching it, because I was experiencing the same. Whatever I started, everyone was talking about, yeah, this industry starts to have starts to get into recession right now, and there will be troubles. And I was like, yeah, another missed opportunity that I have here. But I started changing that mindset to exactly what you just described. Hey, there's always an opportunity in whatever the situation is, and if I make it through that time, obviously after that there will be a little bit of rainbow coming for sure. After every rain there's a rainbow, so it's not always times as everyone says. Plus, you said it correctly, that's very stoic. You have to focus on things that are in your control, and things like that are never in your control. I mean, the last
Mhm.
5 to 10 years have shown us that pretty much 99% of the things we thought are in our control are absolutely not in our control. You might
Right.
as well do with this information what you want. But that's a great message that you just shared there. And you've mentioned you liked something about the logistic, maybe the operations as well. What was it that was so interesting to you or exciting even?
Well, one of the things that I because I didn't know anything about logistics, never worked in logistics, never even had a conversation about logistics. But when I looked at it, that's when I discovered that everything that we touched, I'm gonna say 99% of everything that we consume, touch, that we utilize, pens, the pencils, the papers, food, almost everything goes onto a truck to get transported somewhere. And when that really hit me, I was like, "Oh, that's the way the world moves." So the world can't survive without this. And that's what really attracted me to it because I was like, recession or whatever, things gotta be moved around. Things gotta get from point A to B. We go into stores and we just pick stuff off of the shelf and we don't think about the process of how it got there from being raw material that was shipped to a manufacturer to be turned into pieces that was shipped to another manufacturer to be turned into a product that was shipped to a store to actually be consumed. But it had to come from China, it had to come from Guatemala, it had to come from somewhere to get here from Mexico on a ship, on a plane, in a container that was loaded at a warehouse, that was loaded onto a truck, that was finally offloaded at the store where you finally bought it at. Once I got an understanding of that, I was like, this is pretty fascinating. And then the process of actually doing that work, it's so process driven, right? And that's being an athlete, you're process driven. You go through the process, you master the process, and then if you can master the process, at the end of that is where you get the payoff. And so
Uh,
this business represented that to me, and that's why I thought that I could develop processes and I could coach other people to master those processes to where the end result would be, a good functioning, high revenue, high gross profiting business.
I could sense that excitement from you, and I see it the same way. Transportation industries moving all of the economies worldwide, and you've mentioned to the final destination would be the shelves of the retail store. Now we have trucks delivering it to your doorstep, and even crazier, they can open now your garage and put it into your fridge or leave it in your kitchen. That's like the next level over the last couple of years that we have been developing as well, right? So that's insane. But the process overall, like you said, from raw materials or sourcing raw materials, manufacturing, shipping it all, there is, I think about it every time we have railroad here close by. So I see every single day, multiple times during the day, thousands of those containers, thousands of them.
Yeah.
And then you have trucks because freeway runs right next to it. and there's trucks every single minute, every second. There's so many trucks driving. I mean, it's just insane. It's like almost overwhelming the amount of goods we are transporting all the time to make sure that we have all the luxuries that we have, in 2025, and we take for granted most of the times until, until something happens and they're taken away from us, and we're like, oh my God, what are we gonna do now?
Exactly. But I think a lot of people take it for granted because they just don't know, right? If you're not aware of something, then of course you're going to take it for granted. And most people are not aware. A lot of people see those big semis rolling down the highway. It's like, oh my God, I'm scared because, it's a big truck, and not knowing that truck is transporting some goods that they may be taking off the shelf, or it may be getting delivered to their home in the next couple of days.
Absolutely. Walk me through your maybe day to day, or walk us through your day to day. What do you currently do at Bird Logistics, and where do you utilize your strengths, if you will?
Yeah, so I start off my day pretty early in the morning, 4:30, in between 4:30 and 5:30, practically every morning. Sometimes earlier if I just can't sleep, I just get up and get it started. But I have to set my mornings off properly to get ready for the day. Usually some type of exercise. If it's just, if it's walking, I typically will walk for 5 miles in the morning. If I'm just gonna walk, or then run, 2 to 3 miles, or I'm biking 10 miles. And I haven't really hit the gym and worked out in a while, but that ebbs and flows. So get that stuff in, really get my spiritual time in, and a lot of meditation and reading. So once I get that part in, and I got my day set and I got my mindset ready for the day, then, now it's time to come in and get to work and start to look over, everything with Bear Down Logistics. And the thing that I'm focused on now, because I have a broker agency model, my agents really, they go out and create their own books. And my job is to make sure that this platform is running smoothly so they can go out and build their books, bring all of their opportunity back to Bear Down Logistics. And then me and my side, we make sure that things are getting picked up on time, communicated, dropped off on time, and communicated. Paperwork is being collected and uploaded into our systems, and getting our agents paid and getting the company paid. So for me, I'm always keeping an eye on that stuff. I get up in the morning, I check our load boards. Hey, what do we have going out? What do we have coming in? Looking at the finances in the morning, and just making sure that all of that stuff is running smoothly throughout the course of the day. And then typically I try to have one or two big things for the day. Like for me today, we are really focusing on SEO for lead generation. So I have to go and look at our numbers as far as projections to see how much, money we're gonna put into SEO based off of our projections. And I've really been working on that for the last 2 weeks with our SEO group. That's been the big thing over the last couple of weeks that I've really been focused on, as we try to bring in more opportunity on the heavy haul side of our business of what we do. So it like I say, the last couple of weeks has been focused on the SEO. I don't know what'll be next. It could be, hey, we got some integrations that we need to focus on for the broker agents. So it's always kind of big block things that I'm focused on for weeks at a time. But from day to day, it's just making sure that everything is running smoothly. And then I get calls from my agents. I get calls from my side with my operations team, and troubleshooting stuff throughout the day. But typically things run smooth, so I get to really focus on building the business and what's next, and having those type of conversations. And then I also have my own book of business where, I'm communicating with different people and building relationships with different people to bring more opportunity to the table for Bear Down Logistics also.
The 5 a.m. club. There's a good book about 5 a.m. club. Any interesting books or podcasts that you listen to in the morning during your walks?
I listen to a lot of spiritual stuff, man, because I know for me to kind of be clicking on all cylinders. I need to have my mindset together. I need to have my emotions together. I need to have all of that stuff together. I don't really listen to like the radio. I don't listen to a lot of outside podcasts a lot anymore, because like we talked about before we got got on the recording is that I try to reduce a lot of noise, right? I do more reading than I do listening to anything like audio wise, just because I feel like I can really pick and choose what it is that I'm putting into my head, what I'm putting into my soul, what I'm putting into my emotions, so I can really stay focused. Because it's with everybody having the ability to create content right now, there's a lot of nonsense out here, and there's a lot of noise, and trying to pick through that is a task, right? Trying to, all right, which YouTube I really want to go look at, what podcast in particular episodes do I really want to go look at, and so just protecting what I allow to enter into my psyche is something that I'm very, very keen on at this point in my life.
Just to comment on that, if you allow me to, I read a statistics that 60 of our brain's content, essentially our thoughts, emotions, like you said it well, that we have are influenced by what we listen to nowadays, obviously this decade, because we constantly listen to, now, I mean, podcast long form is still okay if you have something that you can essentially stick to. Like I love the Founders podcast. He breaks down great entrepreneurs and athletes, entrepreneurs, and historical figures in a very concise way and entertaining way. However, songs, music, like you said, all kinds of BS that we listen to, tune into, and that we don't even know, but that controls all of our thoughts and emotions. And now it's still quite crazy to read the statistics. So I'm absolutely with you here. I mean, it's so important to not allow the algorithm to dictate what you should watch next or what you should watch now or which episode and so on. I think this is so important to be in control. I like that trend. We talked about it before the recording. I also deleted most of the social media apps from my phone just so not to be tempted to open them. Because this is almost like I observe it at all of my friends that didn't do that. It's the moment there's a silence in the room whenever we get together, someone grabs a phone and is immediately on social media platforms, immediately, and just scrolls through it. And those are, it can be everyone in every age nowadays. It's not only for the younger generations, it's also the older generation, and they're locked out. You talk to these people, I mean, these people, friends and family members that do that, and they're locked out. Obviously, we're guilty sometimes too, but that's such a key in
Mhm.
25 and beyond. I'm with you on that. Moving on, you've mentioned search engine optimization being a great opportunity to earn future business. And I'll be curious to hear why search engine optimization. And then if you also consider AI search engine optimization, because that's becoming a big thing nowadays.
Yeah, so, like ChatGPT, people go there to search and
Hmm.
then,
Correct.
they get recommended. That's part of it also. We've 'cause we have a couple tools where we could track the journey that somebody
Nice.
goes through to get to our page where they actually made the call, and we've seen that some of those start at ChatGPT, and then ChatGPT recommended Bear Down Logistics, and then they came to our website and clicked on whatever they clicked on, and then they actually gave us a call. So we're able to track all that stuff, which is really scary, by the way. Like we know that you went through this whole journey to get to us. But why SEO? Because everybody's searching. Everybody's searching for whatever it is that they're trying to get accomplished or whatever it is that they're trying to consume, right? That's just the way of the world now. And I feel like to have a viable business that's continuously growing, you got to have a great lead generation mechanism. That's where it all starts from. If you can't generate leads and generate interest for what you do, then you really don't have a business because who are you going to sell to or who are you going to cater to? And so I see SEO as probably the best, and I'm going to say artificial way to for lead generation. And what I mean by that is not me going out and actually building relationships with people, which is the other thing that I really focus on is, hey, let's have a conversation. No, we don't necessarily have to set up a Zoom call. I will fly to Atlanta and come and meet you and shake hands with you and let's go sit down and have a 2-hour conversation over lunch and let's talk about what it really is that you're trying to get accomplished and let's see if I can help you accomplish that with what I do with my company is worth the $500,000 investment to go up there. And you know what? I may not get the business. That's part of it, right? But if I have to do that 10 times and I have to spend, $7,000 total to fly somewhere for a day and have a conversation. And then that leads to, a $500,000 account per year. And we're making a 20% margin on that. Well, the rate of return for that investment was well worth the time and the effort. So those two things are really where I really look at. You have to put a lot of time to the artificial and then the actual authentic one-on-one conversations with people where you can actually sit eye to eye, feel the emotions from the person, actually see them, see the mannerism, and see if they're being authentic and real and open with you. And they get to see the same from me. So, but going back to the SEO, that's where everybody is at. They're on their phone, they're on their computers, and they're searching for whatever it is that they're looking for. So we want them when they're looking for our business and what we do, whether it's heavy haul, whether it's shipping something on a drive-in or a flatbed or whatever it may be, we want to be in that category. We want to be in that search where we are option for whatever they're looking for within the logistics industry.
That's smart, absolutely. And I think SEO is still underrated and not still. It's very heavily underrated because of the change that we're seeing right now. For the last, what, 10, 15 years, search engine optimization was mainly Google. Maybe for Microsoft users in some realms, it was Bing or Microsoft owned platforms. Then YouTube came around, YouTube owned by Google as a search engine, search platform. People look for how to do certain things, how certain things works, or look up people or find out podcasts like this. And now we have this AI
Mhm.
wave where, like you said, when you're able to track the journey, which from my point of view as a marketer, I love doing that. I could sit all day and find out how this journey started and where it's going. You have search engine optimization becoming, I'm sorry, AI platforms like ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, and all those big LLMs becoming the next search engines. Essentially, people now I see in my family members again because I like to observe things. I see that they switching from Google under their favorite part on their phone, like sort of platform to look for something. They're switching to ChatGPT or any other platform they like, and that essentially for AI platform they like, and that's where they do those quick searches, like whatever you have something simple or something more complicated, whether it's business or personal or fitness, you look up things on ChatGPT, you find out what ChatGPT would essentially advise you based on and they know you. That's the thing. They know you more than Google. Google and Alexa and all of those platforms tools, they hear what we do, they see our browsing history, and that's how they make decision. Hey, this is what you should see. On the other hand, AI knows a lot about you. Every time you search something, it has memory on you. Every time you ask a deeper question, it will remember that. Every time you if you're looking constantly for supplements, it will assume you trying to get in shape or you want to improve something. So that's powerful, and that can be definitely applied to business as well. So yes, kudos to the team for taking that step, and looks like you're hands-on learning about search engine optimization and implementing that into your business.
Yeah, and ChatGPT, I call ChatGPT my business partner. I've loaded up so much information in ChatGPT. I loaded up, I actually have 3 books. I only tell people I have two, but I actually have 3 books. I've loaded up all of my books. I loaded up hundreds of interviews, a lot of my writing that I do on LinkedIn. I've loaded all of that stuff up on ChatGPT. And all I say is, hey, I want you to understand who I am as a person. And so now when I just started writing my next book and I loaded up an interview that I did for that book, it's a 4-hour interview. And I'm sitting here talking to ChatGPT about the book and how it's supposed to be written and started off with chapter 3 after ChatGPT recommended like different chapter titles. So let's start off with chapter 3. And then we talked through chapter 3. And it's weird to say we talked through chapter 3, but that's actually how I look at it. Like this is my partner right here. And my partner understands what I'm trying to get accomplished. And then I give it the task to go get it accomplished. And then it came back with chapter 3 and I read through chapter 3. I had to make a few changes here and there, but I was like, damn, this is really good. And it really sounds like me. But I've loaded up so much information over the last year or two that it actually knows my voice now and it knows my lingo, how I speak. It knows all of my principles that I talk about. So it incorporates those things throughout a lot of the things. Um, as I'm getting ideas, like I use ChatGPT for ideas all the time because it knows like what I'm thinking. So yeah, it's a wonderful tool, but it's also scary sometimes when I read my own stuff as I'm talking to it, and I'll dictate to it and then say, "Hey, clean this up for me and make sure it's A, B, C, or D. I wanna have this type of tone to it, blah, blah, blah." And then it spits me out. I'm not one of those people that just go on to ChatGPT and say, "Do this for me." I'm really prompting it. I'm really talking to it. I'm really dictating because I want it to be authentically me and not AI. But AI is helping me clean it up. AI is helping me polish it. It's like me having like a editor for what I'm doing or having an assistant for things that I need to get accomplished. So it's pretty wild, but yeah, it's very helpful.
Absolutely. It's almost like a relationship because sometimes I get angry because the outcome is so bad. I mean, it's not
Yeah,
accurate at all, and I don't like it. I just don't like it. And I get angry sometimes, obviously jokingly here, but sometimes there is this anger emotion, like why I'm telling you three times the same thing, same prompt, and you're still giving me that wrong outcome. And I had recently an experience where I was doing a lot of numbers, like had to calculate a lot of formulas for a very challenging proposal for a business partner. And ChatGPT was constantly giving me those wrong numbers, couldn't get the formula. And I was amazed at the same time, like, so it has some limits. I mean, it obviously what I should have, if I had more time, what I would probably do, I would start all over again. I will give it prompts in simple terms one by one before I actually gave it, something complicated to calculate. But at the same time, like I said, it's a relationship because you have those moments where you have a tougher day and you want ChatGPT to suggest, a good verse from the book of Proverbs or a good chapter from the book The Champion's Mind or something from the Stoics. Maybe some Marcus Aurelius needs to talk to you because you're dealing with something that you can't handle, and I want Marcus Aurelius' advice here. What would he do? What would Marcus do in this situation? Tell me about it. Or use him as a mentor almost, like, hey, it read probably Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. It read all the Stoic letters. It read all of that. It can almost act like Marcus Aurelius, better than probably most of the human, unless you know some professor who's been studying it for his entire life. So it's quite fascinating, I have to say. It's scary at the same time because the way it's going, but it's quite
right.
fascinating if you ask me.
It is, definitely.
Yes. Let's talk about goal setting and self belief. I feel like you will be the right person to talk about self belief, especially in entrepreneurship, because that read somewhere that belief comes before ability, and I think I believe in it. And then so many people, and me including, growing up with, I would say, lack of self belief. I constantly had to prove something for myself because before I actually believed in myself. So that's more of a personal question here as well. Why not get a little bit vulnerable here? How do you approach self belief and goal setting? Because I feel like they go hand in hand.
Yeah, so when you start talking about belief, you really, for me, you start jumping into spirituality, right? At least for me, it's everything is about belief. Everything is about, hey, can you visualize this? Can you imagine it in your mind that you can get this, whatever it is, accomplished? Like for me, can I build $100 million logistics company? Well, first I have to believe that I can do it. If I don't believe that I can do it, then I'm already doomed from the beginning. But it's not one of those kind of intellectual beliefs. It's a belief with your being that no, there's no other outcome but for me to get to $100 million revenue because that's what I set my goals at, right? And too many times in the Bible, which I read all the time, it says just believe, just have faith. But I believe when a lot of people read those type of things and those type of things are, from friend to friend, say, man, you got to believe in yourself. You got to have faith in yourself. It comes off so flimsy and we don't understand the depth of what those words really mean. Belief is not like one day, okay, I'm up on it and I'm positive about it, but as soon as something go wrong, then I'm like, well, this and that. Now, no, things are going to go wrong. It cannot those things cannot affect your long-term thinking about what you're trying to get accomplished. Yes, you have to problem solve. Yes, you have to take a detour sometimes. Yes, there's going to be times where you doubt a situation, but I believe the most successful people are the people who never waver on their belief of what they're trying to get accomplished, right? So when I think about belief, I think about it spiritually. And I think about what am I thinking every single day? What not what is coming out of my mouth, but what you can't hear, what my wife can't hear, what my kids can't hear, that I'm saying to myself every single day. And is that voice in my own head, is it aligned to what I'm saying on the outside and what
Mm,
everybody sees and what I'm hearing myself say on the outside? And if those two things are not aligned, then I think that's where the issue is because, as you know, man, they people can say a lot of stuff on the outside, but it's not really what they're feeling on the inside. Because socially, societally, we conform and we say things just so we fit in, just so people don't look at us a certain way. And a lot of times we don't live out our truth. And I believe most of us are all of us are guilty of that at different points, but you always got to bring it back home and you always got to say, okay, am I living my truth? Am I speaking my truth? One of the things that I try to do for myself, I call it my triangle of focus, my thoughts, my beliefs, and my actions. What am I thinking on a daily basis? What am I choosing to believe? And what are my actions are? And in the middle of that triangle is the goal. My thoughts, my beliefs, and my actions all have to be aligned to that thing that's in the middle that I call my goal of what I want to achieve. And if my thoughts and my actions and my beliefs are not aligned to that, that's when I have to come back and I have to realign myself and make sure that those things are all aligned. Because if they're not, I'm gonna fall short.
powerful. And I'm gonna steal the triangle approach. I like it. I can feel it. And so
Yeah,
many good. Yeah, I mean, it's so powerful. And it's a key self belief.
yeah.
And look, sounds like faith has helped
Yeah,
you a lot.
and if I could jump in really quick, I think the most underrated thing about that whole triangle is the emotions, the emotional part of it, right? Because a lot of people, I think they feel that you get a choice on what you want to feel about anything, right? Even if somebody says something so negative to you and, whatever that may be, you get a choice on how you react to it and what you feel about it. And the same thing happens when like what happened to me last year when a company shuts down on you and you get a letter saying that they're not going to pay you because they're closing their doors. I get a choice on how I want to feel about that emotionally, right? At first, I'm like, what the? But then, okay, I have to get back aligned. I know what my goals are and my thoughts, my emotions, and my feeling and my actions all have to be aligned. So if I'm going to let that take me out of alignment, then I got to go and reevaluate. So I was able to shift that thought process from being pissed about it to okay, how can I now make my company better so that will never happen again?
Mm.
And it allowed me to make some changes about how we onboard customers and what we would allow from onboarding customers that made our company better, right? I still had to deal with the loss of revenue and still had to pay the carriers out of my own pocket because I wasn't getting paid from that customer. I still had to do that. But if I didn't stop and think and check my emotions and my thoughts to that situation and choose how I wanted to think about it and not go on autopilot with my subconscious and make a conscious choice about what I want to think about it, I wouldn't have gotten better as a company owner with my processes or for onboarding customers.
Powerful. And you've mentioned some keywords that stuck with me there. Having a choice is an autopilot and a choice. Most of the time, choice how we feel about certain things. Whatever happened, you have a choice to dictate how you're gonna feel. But at the same time, I feel like most of us are on that autopilot, as you mentioned, where we don't choose how I want to feel about it. We just allow and it's so easy. I don't want to butcher the quote somewhere, but someone obviously way wiser than me said it. It's easy to neutralize this emotion at the very beginning before it escalates. So, like you said, a great example there. So you lost essentially a lot of revenue, clients shut down the door. You can't do anything about that. If immediately that autopilot emotion shows up, and I hope I explained it correctly. So that autopilot would be like getting angry, like you said, being pissed, like, oh my God, what are we gonna do here? Blame it on everyone and everything. And it can escalate to the point where it takes you over. And when you can't stop thinking about that one client that let you down, that the shut down doors, you can't do it, how I'm gonna pay this, how I'm gonna pay that, oh my God, and when I can't pay this in 2 weeks, how I'm gonna meet payroll and what have you, and it escalates. But if you neutralize that emotion and you choose to think otherwise in the very beginning, it's going to be so much easier for you to essentially build a habit of, yeah, I am in power of my emotions, I can control them, and I have a choice to do so. That's so powerful.
Yeah. One of the things that I did also in that time is I went to my carriers, and most of the carriers, they have a factoring company, and so when the factoring companies came and said, hey, payment is almost due, give us the expected pay date. I told them, I was like, hey, can I get a 30 to 60-day extension to pay this because this happened, right? And I'm more than confident that we'll make up for the revenue and the profit that we lost, but it's going to take us another 2 to 3 months to do that. And they worked with me, and they said, okay, just keep us in the loop, right? And it was a pretty easy fix over time. Some I had to pay out of my pocket, but then some I was given extension and able to, go out and continue to do business and take some of my earnings and back pay some of that stuff that they gave me the opportunity to stretch out for a couple more months.
Great approach. And now we know how to handle it in the future. And if God forbid, if anything happens, you know how to handle it. You don't have to allow the emotions to take over. It's easy from now. Obviously, saying half jokingly, but we know how to handle it. We learn. That's growth. Absolutely. If you had a chance to sit down at the table across the table, there is a younger version of you, Desmond. What advice would you give your younger self?
First of all, I would say be patient with your finances. Early on, when I was playing football, I got greedy. I was making a lot of money, and I wanted to make so much more money, and I didn't have to at the time, right? And I ended up losing a lot of money because I was so impatient with trying to make more money. So I would say, hey, once you get in a position where you have finances, be patient. Be patient. Make decisions. Gather enough information that you can make a real decision, and not just jump into something because, oh my God, they say you can make this type of money, and you just think it's going to happen. The other thing that I would say to a younger version of myself is to be patient. Um, just with how you move about this world, right? We are in a world that everybody wants things to happen like right now. And as I've grown older, I've understood that patience is really a virtue. Take the time to have the conversation. When you and your wife are not seeing eye to eye for something, be patient, let it play out. Don't react right away. The other thing that I probably would tell my younger self is eliminate the noise. What gets you going? That's not even what. Hey man, if I want to sit down and say at the end of my days, if I had to say I lived a good life, what are the 3 to 5 things that I would have done consistently in my life to say that I've lived a good life? I would tell my younger self to focus on those 3 to 5 things and make sure that you get those things accomplished.
Life goes by so fast, so be patient and be where your feet are.
Yes.
Exactly. You've mentioned several things that are coming up for you in the future. Perhaps you will be getting to public speaking. You have a book writing. You have a big goal, the North Star for Bear Down Logistics. What else didn't we cover?
Man, I'm just excited about, where my family is at right now. I'm just excited about where I'm at spiritually and my understanding of like what's really going on out here. And then being able to build a company where I have impact on other people and that impact and then the business generating resources where I can have impact on a bigger, more substantial level. I'm really like excited about what that holds in the future, the things that I can get accomplished, or I should say we get accomplished, because it's not just me that's doing this. But I look at one of my agents going out and buying his first home. Like that's pretty significant to me. That hey, we provided a platform that he was able to earn enough income with him and his wife combined that they were able to go out and buy a home. That's pretty fucking dope to me.
Love it. That's must be a very fulfilling moment, and you're not only impacting people at your companies, your family, but I feel like the messages that you shared in podcasts like this, and then in previous podcasts, are impacting many people you probably never will ever even meet. And with that, I wanted to say thank you so much for your time. I already look forward to do the editing because I'll be able to go through the different very impactful messages you shared in peace and absorb them more than just listening to them once. So thank you so much for that, Desmond. It was a pleasure, and I look forward to see what the future will bring, and perhaps some public speaking when you're out there again, and I'll be as a guest listening to what you have to say.
I appreciate you having me on, Matt. And hey, good luck to you on your podcast. I'm going forward. Hopefully, you get the greatest guest of all time, and it blows up beyond what anything that you can even imagine.
Thank you, Desmond.